Lori squinted as she saw a bright light was shining in her face. She had to put her hands over her eyes, and she began to walk forward. She peeked over for her fingers, and her mouth fell open. She found herself in a white room. Her eyes hurt from the light, that she did not want to leave her alone. Her ears perked up at the sound coming from far away. She cupped her hands over her eyes and saw a small object in the distance. She began walking towards it, using caution. She was able to pick up the sound more clearly now. Wait, was that the spot she thought she was at? No, it couldn't be. Her feet picked up speed as she walked closer to the sound. Something told her that she needed to make it there faster, and when she saw it became really loud. Then she stopped and looked down at her feet. She could feel tears in her eyes. Laying under her feet was a small bassinet. Inside, a baby dressed in purple. The baby had light tan skin and soft black hair, and they were crying, her eyes a little red and her arms outstretched. Lori reached down and picked up the baby. Shh, it's okay, she said quietly. Mommy's here. They began to calm down as Lori picked her up in her arms, and they latched onto her shirt, her eyes looking up at her. She wiped her eyes and looked down at the little person in her arms. I don't know what you are, but I love you, said Lori. The baby rolled over, resting her face on her chest. Mama, the baby babbled quietly. Lori's eyes widened. Did you say mama? She said. Bobby, come here. Bobby appeared next to her. What is it, babe? The baby just spoke, she told him. Oh yeah, she did, Bobby said, taking the baby from her arms. That's my girl. Lori blinked. We have a daughter? Bobby nodded. Of course, he said. And she's perfect. Mama, mama, the baby said, reaching out for her arms for Lori. My daughter. Mama, mama. Lori's eyes opened as she was brought into the hands down to her swollen stomach. She sighed in relief as she felt her baby kicking away. She looked over next to her to see two blurry fingers near her. Mom will be back soon, Lily, she said a voice. Until then, you get to stay with me. Mama, Lily cried harder as she tried to escape from Linny's arms. Linny held on to Lily tighter. No, Lily, she said. Here, why don't you play with Mr. Teddy? Linny then grabbed the teddy bear from beside her bed and handed it to Lily. Baba, Lily babbled as she reached out for the bear. Linny then handed it to her, and then the baby squealed with delight. There you go. Good baby, she said. Oh, hey, Lori. Lori wiped her eyes. Oh, hey, Linny, she said. What's wrong with Lily? Oh, Mom went to the store and Lily wanted to go, so she's been crying like this for an hour, Linny said. Aw, poor baby, Lori said. Has she eaten it yet? No, not yet. Lori threw the covers off of her and sat up. Here, I'll take it from here, she said. Linny looked at her. Are you sure? Yeah, I've got to eat anyway, Lori said as she got up. Hey, Lily, want to go get some num-nums? Lily's eyes widened and she held at her hands. Lori picked up Lily, and Lily spread her legs across Lori's belly. Lori's eyes widened. Why do you keep doing that? She said. No, baby, Lily said. I baby. Lori sighed. Yes, you are my baby, she said, kissing Lily's head. Let's go eat now, okay? Lily smiled and clapped her hands happily. Lori headed down into the hallway where her siblings were getting ready into their usual Christmas Eve antics. Lynn and Lucy were running around looking for the presents. Lincoln was outside sledding with the freshly fallen snow. Lola was trying to get on Santa's nice list. And of course, Lori made her way to the kitchen, where her father was busy working on the Christmas dinner. He turned around and heard her footsteps. Good morning, honey, he said. How are you feeling? My back hurts, my feet are swollen, and I'm hungry, but other than that, I'm fine, she said. Lynn frowned. Oh, I'm sorry, Lori. I know pregnancy is tough, he said. I can't help with the other stuff, but I did make you some pancakes earlier. He pointed to the counter next to him. Lynn Sr. said. Lori's mouth watered as she looked at the giant stacks of pancakes sitting in front of her. She looked over to see Lily, enjoying the stack as well. Oh, Lily's hungry too, Lori told him. Lenny said she hasn't eaten yet. Dada, Lily said, reaching out her arms. Come here, sweetie, Lynn Sr. said, as he grabbed Lily from Lori's arms. I'll take care of her. Now you go eat. Thanks, Dad, Lori said. She walked over to the counter and putting the 4 pancakes on her plate. She grabbed the bottle of syrup and then smothered them in it. Hi, dear sister. Lori turned to sit around to see Lola standing there. I'll take that for you, she said, reaching out her hands. Oh, it's okay, Lola, Lori said, picking up her plate. I've got it. But I insist, Lola said, grabbing the plate from her. What kind of a sister would I be if I let my poor, pregnant, older sister carry her own plate that is too heavy? Lori raised an eyebrow. Fine, but since you're being so nice today, Well, thank you, dear sister, Lola said as she headed out to the dining room. She sat on the plate on the table and pulled out a chair for Lori. There you go, dear sister, Lola said. Lori took her seat and Lola pushed it in. Is there anything else I can give you? Milk or juice? Lori thought for a moment. Milk would be good, she said. The baby doesn't like orange juice as it gives me a heartburn. Lola smiled. Be right back. Lori began to dig into her stack of pancakes when she felt a kiss on her cheek. She turned around to see that Bobby was there standing there. Good morning, babe, he said, placing his hand on her belly. How are my girls today? Lori's eyes widened as she put down her own fork. What did you say? I asked how are you and the baby doing today, he said. Lori released her breath. Oh, we're fine, she said. The baby has been really active today and my back is kind of sore. I'll give you that back massage later, babe, he said. Lincoln and I have been outside playing in the snow. That kid really knows how to sled. Lori returned to her food. Yeah, he does, she said. I remember when he lost it to Mr. Grouse's yard once. It was literally impossible to get it back. Bobby laughed. I think I remember hearing about that. Lori scraped her fork against the plate. Bobby frowned. Are you sure you're okay? She then turned to him and sighed. Sit down. Bobby took a seat next to her and grabbed her hand. Whatever it is, you can tell me. I'm not really sure how to say this, but I had a dream last night, and it was literally so strange. What happened? I was in a room completely white, and I saw something in the distance, she began. I walked over closer, and that's when I saw it. What did you see? There was a bassinet, and inside had a baby in it. Our baby, she continued, and it was a little girl, and she was so beautiful, Bobby. Bobby's eyes widened. We had a daughter? Lori nodded. We did, and I loved her, and she was perfect, she said, her lips quivering. Aw, babe, don't cry, Bobby said, reaching out to hug her. That's really cool that you had a tough, and I want you had, though, but I wonder what that means. She then shrugged back at him. I don't really know, but it made me want to find out what the baby is. But I thought we agreed we wait, Bobby said, confused. You're right, I really do want to wait, Lori said. Although, now with my family I have a really good feeling that it's going to be a girl now. Bobby then placed a hand under his chin. If it makes you happy, then maybe we can ask the doctors to look next time. Really? He nodded. Yeah, it could be our secret. Lori bit her lip. Sure, I guess I like that, she said. Do you know where else I'd like? You that massage that you promise. Sure thing, babe, Bobby said as he got up. He began to rub her shoulders as she closed her eyes. Yes, a little to the left. Now to the right. Oh, yes. Feeling any better? Bobby asked. Very much. Thanks, Boo Boo Bear, she said. Anytime, babe. Lori! Lincoln can be yelled as she came into the dining room. What is it, Lincoln? Lori asked. He held out a piece of paper in front of her. This is for you, he said. Oh, she said, grabbing it from him. Oh! Bobby raised an eyebrow. What is it? He asked. It's a letter from the university, she said, and she began to open it, carefully not to tear it. As she read it through, a smile formed on her face, and Bobby began to smile. Then he saw her face. What does it say? He asked. They got my emails about being interested in them, and they want me to apply, Lori told him. Oh, that's great, babe, Bobby said. Yeah, it is, she said, and I'm sure happy that they're interested in me, though I'm not sure if I could take it. Bobby frowned. How come? He asked. He shook his head and pushed it on her stomach. Oh, that's right. Lori rubbed her belly. I am really not sure if this is the right time right now, she said. It's too stressful. Bobby put a hand on her shoulder. Hey, it's okay. You don't have to think about it right now, he said. You want to go take a walk? Yeah, I have a headache, Lori said as she stood up. Okay, I'll go get your coat, Bobby said, going into the living room. Before he could grab it from the rack, Lola snatched it. Sorry, Bobby, but I'm taking care of Lori today. Bobby left. Hey, that's okay, he said. Gotta make sure that you get a lot of presents tomorrow, huh? Lola nodded and looked away. No, maybe, she said. But that's none of your business. He held up his hands. All right then, little princess. Lola then went to the dining room and put on Lori's coat for her. There you go. Can't have you getting sick on Christmas. Thanks, Lola, Lori said. Come on, Bobby. Hey, I'm right here, he said, waving his arms. Lori giggled. I know, silly, she said, turning to her to look at the siblings that were in the other room. We'll be back in a bit. You guys be good. They waved their hands as she and Bobby went out of the door. They quivered as they felt the cold. The winter air touched their skin, and the entire neighborhood was covered in snow, with trees hung low in piles of snow covering their branches, the sidewalks leading into the house slippery, and the nice coating of ice covering it. Lori then grabbed onto Bobby's hand, clinging for them for warmth. Luckily, they both had winter boots so they could get a grip on the ground easily. And they began walking. making her way out of the Loud's yard. She was so happy that she wasn't pregnant during the summer, as the heat would have been brutal. She didn't mind the winter as much since she loved feeling the warm and cozy on the inside. "So you got everything you want to talk about?" Bobby asked. Lori sighed and with her breath still visible in the cold. "I think we should talk about the future," she said. "The baby will be here in 18 weeks and soon we'll be graduating. What are we gonna do?" Whoa, slow down a bit, babe," Bobby said, putting his hand in front of him. "I think we could both come up with something that works for us. Just because we're having a baby doesn't mean we have to give up on our dreams." Bobby was right. The past few weeks, Lori had been worried about what her future held. She dreamed about moving in with him, going to college, throw a baby in there though, and it really became more complicated. "You're right. I think I just need some time to think about what's happening right now," she said, turning to him. He nodded. "Yeah, don't get too stressed out," he said. "It's bad for the baby." Lori touched her stomach gently, and she could feel it jump with every little movement that the baby made. It became real to her. There was an actual person in there, and there one day she'd be responsible for them. "I think we should think about names," Lori said. "Even though we don't know what they are yet, they at least deserve a name, right?" "Yes, they do," Bobby said, as she turned to her head side and placed a finger on his chin. For a girl, I like Mackenzie." "Really? Well, I like Katrina," Lori said. Bobby looked over her. "What about for a boy?" "Dayton," Lori said. "It's a good name." "I like Max." "Those names are good," Lori said, "but I'm not sure if they fit." Bobby thought for a moment and his lips puckered and his eyebrows furrowed. His face lit up and then he turned to Lori. "I think I have one." "What is it?" Lori asked with curiosity. Bobby leaned over and whispered into her ear. A smile grew on her face as she heard his words. "Oh, those are perfect!" she exclaimed. Bobby smiled. "I'm glad you like them, babe," he said, giving her a kiss on the cheek. "So it's settled then, Lori?" She couldn't answer. She felt a sharp pain through her stomach. She doubled over and clutching her stomach with her hands. "Bobby, help!" she said, reaching out for him. He got down, and he could see in her eyes. "What is it?" he asked, worry in his face. She then looked up at him. I think the baby's trying to come." Bobby's eyes widened. Oh God, it's too early. "Just please take me home," Lori said, grabbing onto his shirt. He then picked her up in bridal style and carried her home as fast as he could, being careful not to slip on the ice. When he reached out to the front door and opened it as fast as he could, the other sibling turned to look at Bobby with his eyes widened as he saw the look on his face. "What's going on?" Luna asked, getting up from the couch. "It's Lori. She thinks the baby's coming," Bobby said, carrying Lori over to the couch. The others gathered around Lori, asking her questions, but she couldn't understand. "Give her room, guys," Rita said. She came into the living room, and she pushed through their children to get to Lori. "What's wrong?" My stomach hurts. It's too tight," she said, leaning forward and letting out a groan. "Let me see," Rita said, getting down next to Lori. It could be Braxton Hicks." Bobby then looked at her confused. "What's that?" "They're just practice contractions," Rita told him. "They're not real, but they are still painful. I had them with all my pregnancies." She then turned to look at Luna. "Luna, get your sister some water." Luna nodded and then headed to the kitchen. "Bobby, I want you to stay with her," Rita said. "Get a pillow and prop up her feet." Bobby grabbed the pillow from her chair and put it under Lori's feet. Luna came back into the room with a bottle of water. "Here you go, sis," she said, handing the bottle over to Lori. Lori took it and began to drink. "If it's Braxton Hicks, the water should make it go away," Rita said. "We'll watch you, and if they keep coming back and they're stronger, then we'll have to go to the hospital." "Is my baby okay?" Lori asked. Rita put her hand on her stomach on Lori's belly. "Well, yeah, they're just fine." Lori then smiled with relief. "Oh, thank goodness. But you'll have to take it easy for the rest of the day," Rita said. "Go up to your room and get some comfy clothes, and just relax. We want the baby to stay in there as long as possible." Lori took a few deep breaths as the pain started to dissipate. "Thanks, Mom," she said. "It's starting to go away." Lana ran up to Lori and gave her a hug. "Tell the baby it can't come out yet. We still don't have the nursery ready," she yelled, pointing at Lori's belly. Lori then picked up Lana and laid her across her chest. "Don't worry, I'll make sure the baby stays in there for as long as it needs to, okay?" "I sure hope so, because we don't have everything ready yet," Lana said. Lori sighed. "Thanks for reminding me, Lana," she said. Lana pouted. "Did I do something wrong?" Bobby shook his head. "No, it's just we've been saving up money for the nursery, and we haven't been able to get much." Lana then looked at the both of them, now with a confused look on her face. "What are you guys talking about? The baby has lots of stuff." Luna gasped and grabbed Lana. "Now, Lana, you know that all that belongs to Lily," she said. "Lori gets her own baby stuff." Lana then looked at her, confused, then it hit her. "All right, my bad," she said. "Now put me down. I've got to check on my reindeer traps." Luna laughed, and then put Lana down. Lana ran out to the backyard where a loud crash could be heard. "I got one," she yelled it from the other room. Lori and Bobby looked at the family. "Okay, so what are you guys up to?" Lori asked, as her eyebrows were raised. "Nothing. What makes you think we were up to something?" Lincoln asked, with a cheeky smile on his face. Lori sighed. "If you say so." She looked at Bobby. "Boo Boo Bear, can you help me to my room, please?" She sat up and Bobby grabbed both of her hands and helping her stand. Then he held her hand as they walked up the stairs, leading up to her room. The rest of her family wiped the sweat from their foreheads. "Boy, that was a close one," Luann said. "What, should we do something about Lana?" Lincoln asked. "I don't know. I think she just means well. She's just excited," Rita said. "But we don't want her ruining the surprise." Lincoln then put a finger on his chin. "Maybe we should give him, well, a little early Christmas present." "But it's not ready yet," Linny said. "Their baby can't sleep in a room with no bed." "That's why I have a plan," Lincoln said. "Ed, how about we can work this for the rest of the day and we'll have it done by tomorrow?" "I don't know, Lincoln," Lynn Sr. said. "It still needs a lot of work." "Trust me, Dad," Lincoln said, waving his hand. "I know what I can do." Linda put her arm around his neck. "I'm with ya. So what's the plan?" And Lincoln motioned for everyone to come closer. "Okay, so here's what we're going to do." Lori laid in her bed, her head on her pillow, her feet propped up as she watched Bobby came back in the room with a bag of chips in his hand. "Here you go, babe," he said, handing her the bag. "Thanks, Boo Boo Bear," she said as she grabbed it. She opened it and began stuffing her as much chips as she can in her mouth. Bobby lay down next to her, rolling over to her side and putting an arm across her belly. He made a funny face. "Are you really that hungry?" Lori swallowed. "I can't help it. Ever since I got pregnant, I feel like I eat like a horse. A cute horse." Lori frowned. "Do you really think I eat like a horse?" Bobby then raised an eyebrows. "You are the one who said that, but aren't you supposed to disagree with me?" Lori said, her voice getting louder. You did this to me, Bobby!" He was taken aback. "What are you talking about?" "Just look at me," Lori said, moving her arms down to her body. "I'm fat, and my face broke out, and my feet are swollen, and all I eat is junk food, yet," she turned to him, "you're still here." He moved in closer and putting a hand on her cheek. "Of course I am, babe," he said softly. "I don't care if you're fat or have zits all over your face." He just put a piece of hair behind her ear. "I love you no matter what you look." Lori's lips quivered, and then she felt tears threatening down her face. "You're just being nice," she said, sniffling. He then turned to her, and she was looking at him. "Look, Lori, what I mean to say," he grabbed her hands, "and when I mean it when I say, I think you're beautiful." Lori closed her eyes, and she felt the tears escape. "Oh, Bobby," she snuggled into his chest, his shirt becoming damp with her tears. He laid his head on top of hers, and his chin brushing further against her hair. He rubbed her back and then pushed her head further into his chest. "You know that I probably won't see it the way I do, especially now, but you're so beautiful." "You think I am beautiful even though I'm fat?" Lori asked. "You're not fat, you're having a baby," Bobby said. "That's a wonderful reason to be fat. When you told me you were pregnant, I was shocked, yes, but I wasn't upset." He then rubbed her hair. "I think I was more worried about how we would make it work. Like, I had a job and a home in the city, and I left my family, and I wouldn't do anything different." He then moved up to Lori towards him so that she was facing him. He both put his hands on her cheeks. "I don't hate you, Lori. I could never do that." He began wiping her tears with his thumbs. "There's nowhere else I would rather be but with you." He then pulled her into a hug. "There's no one else I'd rather be with than the mother of my child." Lori then let out a sob as she put her arms around him. The last few weeks had been different. Rapid changes in her body made her fat, ugly, and undesirable. The more that she thought about it, though, the more she knew that she had picked the right guy. "I love you so much, Bobby," she sobbed, snuggling into his shoulder. He then gave her a kiss on the cheek. "I love you too, Lori." They didn't even notice it, but they fell asleep, and they even cared about was being in each other's arms. "Lori, Bobby, wake up." Come on, you guys, wake up." Lori slowly opened her eyes. She was still wrapped in Bobby's arms as his head was on top of hers. "Lori, come on." She then turned her head to see Lynn standing there, her arms crossed. Lori rubbed her eyes. "What is it?" "You guys need to get up. There's something we have to show you," Lynn said. Lori then turned back to Bobby, slowly shaking him. "Boo Boo Bear," she said softly. "Time to get up." He then stirred and opened his eyes. "Lori, is that you?" She giggled. "It's me, silly. You have to get up." Okay. Bobby then slowly sat up, and Lori following his lead. Finally, Lynn said, "Now come on, you two." Lynn then started to head towards the door, and Lori and Bobby followed. She then led them down the stairs and to the front door, where they had put on their winter clothes, and led them outside. "Lynn, what's going on?" Lori said. "You'll see," Lynn replied. Then she led them to the garage, and she opened up the door and whispered something. "Okay, now close your eyes," Lynn told them. The couple covered their eyes, and Lynn grabbed both of their hands. She led them both into the garage. "Okay, now open." They took their hands away from their eyes, and their mouths were open. The garage had been completely redone and made into a small apartment. The walls were painted blue and pink, and there was even a little love seat and television. There was even a small bathroom, and even a bed big enough for 2 people. At the very end, there was a small nursery. It had a purple crib, complete with a changing table and a rocking chair, and there was so many stuffed animals and a small sink for making bottles. On the other side, Lori then saw her whole family standing there, smiling. "So, do you guys like it?" Lynn said. "Guys, it's just amazing," Lori said as her voice was shaking. "It's incredible," Bobby said, looking around. "What made you guys do this?" "Well, we figured once the baby comes, our house would be even more cramped," Lincoln said. "And you guys deserve your own space," Linny said. "But you guys will still be close to us if you need any help," Rita said. "Merry Christmas, you guys," Luann said. Lori went out to the family and gave them a hug. "Oh, you guys are literally the best," she said, sniffling. Lincoln looked over at Bobby. "Come on, Bobby, you're part of the family too." Bobby smiled and gave him a hug as well. "Our baby already has so much people who loves them," Lori said. "I couldn't ask for a better family. I love you guys." "We love you too, sweetie," Rita said, "and you two are free to stay out here the night if you want." Well, Lori shook her head. "I figured we would go back to my room for tonight. I want to see everyone open their presents." Lola raised an eyebrow. "Don't you mean your presents too?" Lori shook her head. "No, I think I've been blessed enough this year. I have a wonderful family who loves and supports me. I have an amazing boyfriend, and I'm having a baby. And now we have our own apartment. I don't think I need anything else." "We're so glad you love it, honey," Lynn Sr. said as he turned to his kids. "Now, if you guys want Santa to bring you gifts, I suggest you all get into bed." The rest of the kids cheered, running towards the garage. Their parents followed, leaving Lori and Bobby in the garage. "This is really great, isn't it?" Bobby asked. Lori nodded. "Yeah, it is," she said, looked down at her belly. "It really is."